right, we're going to start a new chapter today about statistics and probability. So the first thing we want to talk about are statistical measures. So our objectives for this lesson, the first objective is to identify a group of objects as most likely a population or a sample. So first objective, population versus sample. Okay. Our second objective is we want to identify the type of sample being described. So identify type of sample. All right, and then our third objective is going to find range, mean, median, and mode for a set of data. So range, mean, median, and mode. All right, so you probably have been doing statistics and not realizing it, because anytime you are collecting data, organizing data, analyzing data, or even reporting that data, you are performing statistics, okay? So recorded observations that can be measured or counted, that is the official definition for data, okay? So data is simply recorded observations that can be measured or counted. All right, so let's take a look at population and sample so we can see what those are, and then that way we can figure out how to tell the difference between a population and a sample. So a population is an entire set of objects that share similar characteristics, such as humans, automobiles, measurements, and so this is from which data can be collected and analyzed. So population is an entire set of objects sharing similar characteristics. Okay. So for example, human beings. All right, versus a sample. And when you think of sample, you can even think of a sample from a grocery store. You're just taking a small portion of a population. So a sample is a portion of a population from which data is collected to estimate the characteristics of the entire population. So you're going to take this portion of a population and you're going to collect data from that portion, and then you're going to estimate, so it's used to estimate the characteristics of the entire population. So, for example, let's say we want to know of the population of chocolate cakes. How do they taste? Are they sweet or sour? There's no possible way for us to sample every single chocolate cake. However, what we could do is we could taste 4 different kinds of chocolate cakes and say, well, we took a sample of all the chocolate cakes, right? So we tested 4 of them, and all 4 of those were sweet. So we're going to estimate that since all 4 of those were sweet, that all chocolate cakes, or the entire population of chocolate cakes, are sweet. Okay, so that's how samples are used. All right, so let's try to see if we can figure out if these are going to be populations or samples. So here's example 1. Okay. What about snacks from a vending machine? Okay, so since we didn't specify a certain type of snack, and we're just saying all snacks, we would say that this is a population. Population. There we go. There's the N. Okay. Well, what about 100 students from RCBA? Well, since we're not considering all students, we're only considering 100 of them, we would say that that would be a sample, because we're not talking about the entire population, just 100 of them. Okay. What about Ford automobiles? Right? Ford automobiles. Well, since it's all the automobiles produced by that company, by Ford, we would say that's the population. That's the population of Ford. All right, so populations are usually large and immeasurable, okay? So when we're trying to calculate mean, median, mode, and range of population, it's really hard. It's really impossible, okay? Think about the number of people in the world. It would be impossible for us to get data from every single person, because it would be impossible to ask every single person that question, okay? So that's why we use samples, okay? Let's, whenever you are obtaining measurements, it's so important to get a correct sample, okay? There's things that you need to consider when you're getting a sample. So when you're considering a sample, you want to make sure that they have the following. All right, so these are how to choose a sample. How to choose a sample. Okay, first thing, okay, it has to be large enough. Has to be a large enough sample. Okay, if your population is 1 million people and you are only getting a sample of 10, those 10 people are not a good representation of 1 million. You need to get a little bit more. Okay, if the sample is too small, the results can be invalid and the estimated parameters that you calculated are useless. Okay. Second thing on getting the sample, okay, take measurements yourself instead of asking. Let's say you are getting data on how tall the average height of a population, okay? If you go and ask 10 people what their height is, they could give you an estimate. They could be like, well, I'm about, 5.5 feet. That's not accurate. So you want to take measurements yourself instead of asking. Okay? Next step, or next point, or next thing that you want to know on how to choose a sample is choose your method. Carefully. Okay, how do you obtain your data? So for example, are you calling them on the phone? Are you sending them a letter? Or are you interviewing them in person? Even though all three of those can get your data, if you're sending out letters, not everyone is going to respond to your letter. If you call people on the phone, they might just hang up on you because they don't want to answer your questions. Rather than if you approach someone in person, you have a better chance of getting the information that you want. Okay, so next step, or next thing that you need to know, make sure that samples are representative of the population. Okay, so you want average samples. Okay, you don't want to go to the extremes. Like if you're trying to get the average height of the 7th grade class, you're not going to go to the tallest person and say, you're my sample, you're going to represent the 7th grade class on their average height, when you know that they're the tallest person in 7th grade. That's not a good representation of the population. You want to get an average sample. Okay. So let's talk about the different types of sampling. Okay, the first type is random sample. Okay, so that happens, like, let's say if I wanted to call on a volunteering class, and so I'm going to randomly draw a name out of a bucket. Okay, so that would be it. So like a random number generator, like in bingo, is used to determine who is going to be next. Whoever the number that is, they get it. Okay, so that's random. Okay, there's also systematic. Okay, so random, let's say that example is name out of a hat, right? Systematic, it would be every third person on the roster, right? So every third person. Okay, the third type would be convenience. So for example, if I wanted a group to present, I'm going to choose the table next to me because they're right next to me and it's convenient for me because I can pick on them first, right? So convenience. Okay. Convenience also could be something like if you are wanting them to answer a series of questions, you need to make it convenient for them, right? So the questions are multiple choice, right? So multiple choice questions. Easy and quick for the person who you're getting data from. Okay? The next type would be cluster sampling. And cluster sampling is groups of people. Everyone in Mrs. Garcia's class is going to get asked what their favorite soda is. Okay? So, everyone in a certain location. All right, so let's do some examples to go over types of sampling. All right, so this is example 2, and we're going to go over types of sampling. Okay, so what about, we are going to, our sample is going to be teachers who attended a summer workshop, a specific summer workshop. Would we say that is random, systematic, convenience, or cluster? Okay, well, since we are going to give that questionnaire at the workshop and they're already there, we would say that's convenience, right? That's convenience. They're already at the workshop. They're going to go ahead and fill it out right there. Okay, what about every 5th person on the class roster? Okay, well, since it's every a numbered person, then we would say that's systematic, right? Systematic. There's a system in place. Okay, and then lastly, let's do one more. How about computer generated selection? Okay, so since it's computer generated, we would say that is random. All right, let's move on. What I want to talk to y'all now is a new definition. We're going to talk about some statistical measures. All right, statistical measures. And some of these you probably already know, but we're going to go over them again. There are 4 types. There is range, which is the difference between the largest number and smallest number. So that's your range. Then you have something called mean. Okay, and mean is the average, right? The average. And so now we have to remember, well, how do we get an average? We get the average is you sum the data, so you add up all the numbers, and then you divide it by, so the sum of the data divided by the number of data. So how many numbers did you have? All right, the next type of statistical measure is median. And your median is the middle number. In a set of data that's arranged numerical. So you have to put all the numbers in numeric order, and then the number right in the middle is your median. Okay, what if there are 2 numbers that are in the middle? Well, then you have to take the average. Okay. And the last statistical measure is going to be mode. In that, the mode is the number or numbers, so you can have more than one mode, that occur most frequently. Okay, so something that you need to know about the mode is that if no number occurs more than once, so let's say every number only occurs once, then there is no mode. Okay, so let's do some examples on finding range, mean, median, and mode. Okay, so this is example 3. And we want to find the range, mean, median, and mode of this set of data. The set is 6, 9, 7, 3, 6, 7, 10, 5. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put this in numerical order, okay? So I'm going to arrange them, okay? My hint to you is going to arrange it from the biggest number to the smallest number. So what's my biggest number? My biggest number is 10, so I'm going to write that down. My next biggest number, and when I write it down, I'm going to go ahead and cross it off so I know that I wrote it. So 10, right? My next biggest number is 9. And then my next biggest number is 7, okay? So here's that 7, but then I have to write 7 again. And then my next biggest number is 6. Here's another 6, so I have to write 6 twice. Then my next biggest number is 5. And then I have 3. So now that I have them in descending order, I want to find the range. Okay, and remember my range is the difference between the biggest and the smallest. So my biggest is 10, and difference means subtract. So I'm going to put subtract, and my smallest is 3. So 10 minus 3, which is 7. So my range is 7. All right, so now I want to find the mean. And then find the mean, I have to sum the average, or sum the data. So what's the sum? So 10 plus 9 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3. All right, so I know that 7 and 7 is 14, and 10 and 9 is 19, and 6 and 6 is 12, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, I know that 12 plus 8 is 20, and 19 plus 14 is 33, and then 33 plus 20 is 53. Okay, if you want to, you can just add and add and add and add and add and add and add however you want to, but you have to add up all the numbers. Okay, so I get 53. Now I have to divide that by how many numbers I had. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 numbers. So I have to do 53 divided by 8. Okay, so let's see. 8 does not go into 5, but 8 goes into 53, not 7, because that would be 56. So let's do 6. 8 times 6 is 48. And that leaves you 5. Bring down a 0. So that's another 6. And let's see. We're going to go ahead, because this would keep on going, but when you're finding a mean, we're going to go ahead and stop and round to the nearest tenth. And the 10th is this number here. So we just need to find out what this next number will be to see if we're going to round up or down. Okay, so this is 8 goes into 20 twice, right? So it'd be 6.62. Well, 6.62 rounds to 6.6. So we're going to stop there, and we're going to say our mean is 6.6. Okay, so now we're going to do median. And remember, median is the exact middle. Okay, so when we find the exact middle, we start at the beginning and the end. And then we're going to go one more, and then one more, and then one more. Oh, we have 2. We can't have 2 medians. So remember, if you can't have 2 medians, what you do is you take the average. So we're going to do 7 plus 6. There's 2 numbers, so we're going to divide by 2. Well, 7 plus 6 is 13. And then 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So our median is 6.5. All right. Last is our mode, which is the number that occurs the most. So I'm looking at my numbers. I have 10. I have 1 9. I have 2 7s, 2 6s, 1 5, and 1 3. So the most anything occurs is twice. The 7 occurs twice, and the 6 occurs twice. So remember, I can have more than one mode. So my mode is 6 and 7 because they both occur twice. All right, let's do another example. So we're going to do example 4. In example 4, we're going to find range, mean, median, and mode. And the data that we have is 58, 38, 60, 44, 45, 42, 49, 50, and 41. All right, so first things first, let's arrange these from largest to smallest. So my largest number is 60, right? Let's write 60. My next largest number is going to be 58. And then 50. And then, let's see, I have 49. And then I have 45. And then 44. And then I have 42. Then 41. And then last 38. Okay? So when I find my range, it's the largest number minus my smallest number. So 60 minus 38. So let's see, borrow from the 6. So I get the range of 22. Okay, next I want to find my mean. So I have to total everything up. Okay, so 60 plus 58. And then plus 50. And then plus 49. And then plus 45. And then plus 44. And then plus 42. And then plus 41. And then plus 38. Almost out of room. There we go. All right, we got it on there. 427. So we add those all up and we get 427. Now we have to divide by how many numbers there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So we're going to divide by 9. So how many times does 9 go into 427? Remember, we're going to round to the tenths. So you can stop after you get to the tenths place. Well, actually, you have to go to the hundredths place to see what you're going to round to. So let's go ahead and start. 9 does not go into 4, but 9 goes into 42 times. 9 will go into 42 4 times, and that's 36. And then 9 goes into 67 times 7. And then go ahead and pull up your decimal. 9 goes into 70 7 times. Oh, sorry, 67 minus 63 is 4. There we go. I knew that didn't sound right. Okay, so 4. So 9 goes into 40 4 times. And then we get another 40, which means it would be another 4. So 47.44 just rounds to 47.4. Okay, so there's our mean. Now we're going to find our median. So median is the middle number. Okay, so start at the edges and go 1 in, and then go in one more, and then 1 more, and then 1 more. So your middle number is 45. Okay, and then now for mode. Mode is the number that occurs the most. Okay, and each number only occurs once. And remember, if all of them occur only once, then there is no mode. So for our mode, we would just say none. There's no mode. All right, let's do one more example. This is going to be example 5. And example 5 is going to be a real life problem. We're going to look at temperatures and days of the week. Okay, so we're going to have a chart with the day and the temperature. Okay, so we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay, so on Monday, it was 25 degrees outside. On Tuesday, it was 21. Wednesday, it was 20. And then Thursday, it warmed up and got all the way up to 29. But then it dropped again on Friday, went back to 25. And then Saturday, 22. And then Sunday was the coldest, it was 19. Okay? So we want to find the range, mean, median, and mode of our temperatures. So first thing we have to do is we have to write them biggest to smallest. Okay, so biggest number would be 29. And the next biggest number would be 25. And then 25 happens again. And then our next biggest number is 22. And then 21. And then 20. And then last, 19. All right, so when we find our range, it's the biggest minus the smallest. So 29 minus 19. So our range would be 10 degrees. That's the range. Okay, so for our mean, we're going to add those all up and then divide by 7 because there are 7 numbers because there's 7 days of the week. So 29 plus 25 plus another 25 plus 22 plus 21 plus 20 and then plus 19. And we get 161. And then we're going to take 161 and we're going to divide that by 7. Remember, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so 7 doesn't go into 1, but 7 goes into 16 twice. And then bring down the 1. And then 7 goes into 21 3 times. Ooh, no remainder. We like that. So our mean, or our average temperature during the week was 23 degrees. That was the average temperature during that week. All right, now we find the median, which remember, median is the number in the middle. So start at the ends, go one in and another in, and then finally in the middle, we have the number 22. And then the mode is the number that occurs most often, which is the number 25. It's the only number that occurs twice that week. All right, so our median was 22 degrees and our mode was 25 degrees. All right, so that is all I have to talk to you about statistical measures. So you're going to go ahead and do the practice problems, which is 2 through 6 evens, which is due with your notes.